If you look out across the religious world today, you will notice that the holiest expectation has been pushed onto a calendar, penciled into dates that come and go while lives remain untransformed. The second coming has been turned into a headline, a timetable, a fascination with charts and seasons and storms. And in the meantime, the heart is left starving for a presence that, if it is God, cannot be absent and cannot be late. We have built whole gatherings around waiting, and in our waiting, we have missed the one who whispers, even now, "Lo, I am with you unto the end of the world." Now, let us be honest and practical. If we are to speak of Christ and call him omnipresent, how then can his coming be postponed? How does the everywhere arrive? If God fills all in all, what is it that is yet to come? You see, the riddle dissolves itself. The coming that matters is not motion in God, it is movement in us. It is not someone traveling through space toward us. It is our consciousness yielding, our attention unclutching, and the veil falling, so that what has forever been here is seen, heard, and felt. The second coming, then, is not an event added to history. It is a revelation happening in consciousness. Not a spectacle outside, but a revelation within. Not someday, but now, when the mind stops its calendar talk and the heart grows still enough to notice. God is. God is. God is. God is life. God is love. God is the light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world. And when we rest there, when we release the demand that God prove himself by arranging clouds and trumpets for our senses, the coming appears as awareness. I in the midst of you am mighty. I am not here to give you news about nations or dates. I am here to open a way to a repeatable experience. We are not speculating. We are practicing communion. We are not peering out to the horizon. We are turning within to the infinite invisible. The very presence that says, "Fear not, I will never leave you nor forsake you." This is not imagination. It is contact. And contact is demonstration. But we must make a gentle correction, and it will save you years. The religious world looks outward and misses him. The metaphysical world, very earnest, looks to its own lips and says, "I am spiritual, I am harmonious, I am perfect," and misses him just as surely. Not "I am wealthy," but "the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof." Not "I am healed," but God is wholeness, and wholeness reveals itself as the temple not made with hands. Instead of this "I am" business, we change our treatment to "God is," and the scene shifts from self-assertion to divine disclosure. So let this be our orientation and our promise. We will not count days. We will make contact. We will not argue appearances. We will abide in presence. Day by day, quietly, we will learn to stand still and know. And in that knowing, the coming will not be waited for. It will be witnessed. And it will speak from within you with gentle authority. I in the midst of you am mighty. Look to me. Look within. Today. Now, here is where many of us, with the best intentions in the world, make the subtlest mistake. We have our glasses on, the rent bill on the table, a knot of fear in the stomach, and we begin that old chatter. I am spiritual, I am harmonious, I am perfect. And then we peek at the bill again to see if it is impressed. If you are spiritual and perfect, what are you seeking help for? If it is your perfection, why the strain to affirm it? You see, Humor helps us here because it exposes how the personal I tries to paint itself gold and call it God. And the more it paints, the more the fear shows through. So instead of this I am business, we change our treatment to God is. Not I am Christ as a personal boast, but God is, the life of all life, the truth that never varies, the love that never withholds. God is. God is omnipresence revealing itself as my very being. God is omniscience, appearing as the wisdom that directs my steps. God is omnipotence, as the quiet authority that needs no force. Not I am wealthy, but the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Not I am healthy, but God is wholeness, and wholeness reveals itself as the temple not made with hands. Do you feel the change? The burden shifts. The shoulders lower. The responsibility moves from a frightened persona to the infinite invisible. This is the crucial distinction in identity. Joel, Mary, Bill. These are names, histories, roles, and they are fine in their place, but they are not the source. I can of mine own self do nothing, said the Master. And in that he showed you the line between the human sense of self and the indwelling I that is the presence of the Father. There is an I within you that never begs, never brags, never strains. It simply is. I, in the midst of you, am mighty. Lo, I am with you unto the end of the world. When you let that I announce itself, not about you, but as your true being, the personal sense is quieted, and the word becomes flesh. Now connect this with the coming. God is not traveling toward you by sea or sky. What comes is the surrender of your thought from I am to God is. And in that very surrender, the Christ, already here, is recognized. It is like turning down the volume of the human voice so the still small voice may be heard. And when that voice is heard, something practical happens. You no longer have to talk yourself into harmony. Demonstration begins. Peace shows up before the condition changes, and then the condition changes as a consequence. Guidance appears without argument. Supply flows without theater. You are not performing, you are witnessing. So rest now in the fact. God is. Do not decorate the human I. Do not try to seduce appearances with slogans. Be still and let the I within say what it has been saying since before time. Fear not. I am with thee. Look to me. Look within. And you will find the coming is no longer a hope. It is a happening. Now we must speak of hypnotism. Not the stage show only, but the subtle mesmerism that takes a holy revelation and turns it into a spectacle for the senses. You know the illustration I use, the white poodle. A good hypnotist tells you there is a white poodle on the stage, and if you accept that suggestion, you will see it, point to it, argue about it, and perhaps even reach out to pet it. There is no poodle, only suggestion, only a picture floating on belief. And no amount of stroking will feed it because it isn't there. Now listen. Prophecy, when handled as dates and charts and cosmic fireworks, can become just such a white poodle. The more you stare at headlines, align verses like puzzle pieces, watch timelines like a stock ticker, the more convinced you become that the poodle is about to bark, and the less available you are to hear the still small voice saying, I in the midst of you am mighty. Do you see the point? We have tried to make an inner unveiling into an outer entertainment. We have wanted God to come with trumpets that satisfy the eye and ear, and, enchanted by the showman in the mind, we have missed the presence that, without movement, without noise, says, "Lo, I am with you unto the end of the world." Error in our work is not a reality to be beaten. It is hypnotism to be unmasked. You do not correct the white poodle by painting it black. You do not heal an illusion by improving it. You awaken. You withdraw belief from the picture. You take your attention off the stage, and the spell is broken. Another picture will help. In the dusk, a coiled rope lies across the path, and someone cries, "A snake!" The heart races, the body tenses, prayers are shouted into the air. Then a light is struck. The rope is seen. Where did the snake go? Nowhere. It never was. It was interpretation, fear reading the scene. Or those railroad tracks on the horizon. See how they come together? And you might set out to find the place they meet. You will spend a lifetime walking toward an illusion. Fear interprets. Spirit reveals. When light enters, the meaning changes, and with it, the experience. So it is with the grand spectacle of a coming. The mind, hypnotized by the drama of the finite, constructs a cinema of the future and then worships its own film. Not by deciphering the movie do we find the Christ, but by turning from the screen to the light that makes seeing possible at all. Not, "I am ready for the event," but God is the ever-presence revealing itself as my very consciousness. Not, "When will it happen?" but, "What is? God is." As you rest there, the fascination loosens. The poodle fades. The rope is rope. The tracks are parallel. And in the quiet that remains, a voice that needs no advertisement speaks. "Fear not. I will never leave you nor forsake you." This is discernment. It is not an attack on Scripture. It is the end of superstition. It is not contempt for prophecy. It is prophecy fulfilled as presence. Stand still and watch what happens when you take your eyes off the spectacle and let attention return to the infinite invisible. Communion, quiet, receptive, without performance, is the lawful and gentle way of waking. We do not summon Christ from afar. We yield and discover He was here before the first chart was drawn, here before the first headline rolled, here as the indwelling eye saying, "Look to me, look within." And then the coming is not promised to your calendar. It is recognized in your heart. What then does it mean when we say, "Christ comes"? Not that a person walks across the horizon to your door, not that a pageant fills the sky, but that the divine sonship, the saving activity of God present as your very life, unveils itself within your consciousness. Christ is not a surname, not a creed to wear. Christ is the presence of God individualized without being personalized. The light that lighteth every man that cometh into the world. The truth that, when known, makes free. The love that refuses to leave you where it found you. Lo, I am with you always. Hear that not as comfort poetry. Hear it as spiritual fact. I will never leave you nor forsake you. This is not a verse to embroider. It is the living word knocking at the door of your awareness until you open and say, "Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth." The Master gave you the key when he said, "I can of mine own self do nothing. My doctrine is not mine." The personal sense, Joel, Mary, Bill, does not do the works. The Father within me, He doeth the works. Do you feel the relief in that? Not, I am the healer, but God is wholeness appearing as the healing. Not, I am the provider, but the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and the Christ activity orders and releases it where needed. Instead of this I am business, we rest in God is, and in that rest, the coming occurs as recognition. I in the midst of you am mighty. Now, when the veil thins and the Christ is felt, it is not a firework in the nerves, it is a stillness that has weight, a soft authority that requires no witness, a sense of being gently held from within. You discover that peace arrives first, before the condition changes, and then outward change follows as obedient shadow to substance. It is not emotional excitement, it is inner certainty. The voice speaks without sound. Fear not, I am the life of you. I am the light upon your path. I am the bread in your cupboard, the wisdom in your decisions, the safety on your road. Stand still. This is the second coming in its true order. No calendar, no theater. An inward appearing of the Christ activity becoming conscious as you. God is. God is. God is. And as that is realized, what you had been trying to accomplish with effort begins to appear of its own accord. Direction without debate. Supply without anxiety. Reconciliation without bargaining. The Word becomes flesh because the Word is now welcomed, not as a visitor from beyond, but as the indwelling I that has always been saying, Lo, I am with you. You have not brought it in. You have ceased to push it out with fear, with personal will, with dependence upon the visible. So let the coming be understood rightly. It is the unveiling of the presence that never departed. It is the light dawning where attention had been dimmed. It is the quiet knowing that, from within you, God is being God as you. And in that knowing, life takes on its rightful ease. Look to me. Look within. I am here. And as you rest in that, you will see why we do not wait. We witness. Now, since the coming has been recognized as an unveiling within, let us speak plainly of what communion is in that light. Communion is not an ordinance we schedule, nor a memorial to a presence far off. It is the present act of yielding the personal sense so that the indwelling Christ may be known. Not I take communion to make God come, but I become still to recognize God's already present self-revelation. Not a performance to persuade the infinite, but a quieting of the finite so that the infinite invisible may register as the only reality of our being. God is. God is life shining as this very breath. God is intelligence revealing itself as wisdom in our affairs. God is love fulfilling itself as forgiveness and wholeness. When we rest there, communion happens, not by our doing, but by our ceasing to do. Now close your eyes, just a moment, and let the shoulders drop. Do not reach for a phrase. Do not rehearse a virtue. Realize this. There is something called I in the midst of you. Quiet, unhurried, not subject to weather or headlines. I will never leave you nor forsake you. I am the bread and the wine not as objects, but as life and love pouring through your awareness. Lo, I am with you unto the end of the world. Stay with that. You are not summoning, you are consenting. You are not trying to warm yourself at a fire across the street. You are discovering the flame at the center of your own being. In this consent, the Word becomes flesh. First as peace, before anything outward shifts. Then as right direction, as supply in proper form, as healing without strain. You will notice the difference. No tight jaw, no bargaining with God, no personal glory. Simply the Father within me. He doeth the works. Let this become practical. Communion is not occasional. It is a way of living. Take it in brief, holy pauses. 30 seconds at the sink, in the elevator, before answering the phone, when you put your hand on a doorknob. Look to me. Look within. Father, here I am. Speak. And then, be still. Do that a dozen times in a day and watch what happens. Conversations soften. Choices clarify. Doors you were pounding now open quietly of themselves. You are practicing reliance on the infinite invisible instead of the finite visible. You are letting God be God as your very activity. This is the Holy Ghost, the communion between the Father and the Son that is not two, the movement of grace felt as a settled heart and an ordered life. Do not make a ritual of it and then boast, I had my communion. Stay simple. Each pause is a surrender of the personal sense. Joel, Mary, Bill with their admirable plans, and a fresh recognition that I, in the midst of you, am mighty. Not, I can fix it. God is the government upon whose shoulder the issue rests. Not, I will think my way out. God is omniscience functioning as the idea needed now. Not, I will hustle for supply. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and the Christ activity distributes it in right measure. And if, as you attempt this, you find the window momentarily clouded, do not be discouraged. We shall speak of the clouds, the great interference, because they are not God's absence. They are fear, personal will, dependence on externals, the old impulse that says, I can handle it. For now, practice the turning. Relax. Rest. Make your little contacts through the day. Let the word announce itself within you. God is. God is. God is. And you will know communion as a present event, a contact received, and the coming as the quiet certainty that never again needs a calendar. Let us be honest now about the cloud that passes over this window. It is not God's absence. God is. God is presence without lapse, life without interruption, love without shadow. The interference is fear, and fear is mesmerism. It pushes us out of our center and hurries us into the arms of the visible. Frightened, we run to people for approval, to money for assurance, to institutions for verdicts, to prognoses for authority, to steel plates and double locks for safety. And all the while, the infinite invisible waits unconsulted within, whispering, I, in the midst of you, am mighty. You see how subtle it is. A medical alarm sounds on your phone, and at once the mind lifts the gavel. This is final. This dictates life. Or a court notice arrives, and you rush to collect opinions as if the opinion were law, rather than the word that framed the worlds. A relationship shakes, and you begin to bargain, to cling, to perform. War headlines glow, and scarcity talk fills the room, and already you are counting cans and building fears into doctrine. In each case, the hypnosis is the same. The finite visible claims to be cause. And then, communion, which is our life, gets pushed to the corner and scheduled as an occasional rescue operation, when all the while our reliance should be steady and singular. The infinite invisible as the only power, presence, cause, and law. Ask yourself gently, is the steel plate the protection? Or is the Word of God the protection? Is the diagnosis the governor of life? Or is life the activity of God, infinite and indivisible, revealing itself as wholeness? Not, I must fight this, but God is the fortress and the shelter. Not, I must make someone love me, but God is love, fulfilling itself, and in that fulfillment, all rightful companionship appears. Not, I must maneuver the verdict, but God is justice, and justice reveals itself as right outcome. Do you feel how the burden shifts when we say, God is? The grip loosens, breath returns, the poodle begins to fade. Hear the voice now, for it speaks not from afar, but from the center. Fear not, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. Look to me, look within. I am the life within your life, the law within your law, the safety that requires no armor. Stand still. Let me be what I am. I, in the midst of you, am mighty. Once you see the interference for what it is, fear leaning on the visible, you have the key to its dissolution. We do not argue with it. We do not bargain with it. We withdraw belief from it and turn. In our next step, we will make a simple, specific turning in communion, closing the eyes on the world, letting personal will grow quiet, and consenting for the indwelling I to announce itself. In that contact, the hypnotism melts. The government shifts back to the shoulder where it belongs, and life resumes its rightful order. For God is, and where God is realized, the coming is not delayed. It is experienced. Now let us make the turning. Close your eyes, not tightly, just enough to rest the outward gaze, and be still. Let the outer sounds be there if they are there. Let the traffic hum, the clock tick, the neighbor's door close. Do not chase them, do not push them away. Simply let them be as clouds moving across a wide, untroubled sky. Set the hands and the plans down beside you for a moment. No achieving, no improving, no reaching. We are not performing, we are consenting. Now, inside this quiet, notice the simple fact of being. Not your name, not your story, not the one with eyeglasses who pays the bills. Just this, I am. Feel it before words, the bare aliveness that is here without your effort, the light by which thoughts are seen, the space in which sensations come and go. Do not decorate it, do not analyze it. Let it be pure. This I is not personal. It is the doorway. Rest at the threshold and recognize, the Father within me, He doeth the works. The indwelling presence that has been saying all along, Lo, I am with you, is here. And this silent I is its witness. Now stabilize in truth, not syllables, but realization. God is. God is life, unborrowed, unthreatened, present as this very breath. God is truth, self-revealing, dissolving the shadows of opinion. God is love, without opposite, fulfilling itself as forgiveness, kindness, and wholeness. God is omnipresence. There is no outside to it, hence no absence, hence no distance to travel. God is omniscience, wisdom not consulted after the fact, but moving as insight now. God is omnipotence, quiet authority that requires no force. Not I am strong, but God is the strength of my life. Not, I will find the way, but God is the way, revealing itself where I stand. Be very quiet and let a promise rise from within, not spoken by lips, but heard by heart. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Hear it again, as if for the first time. Fear not, I am here. I in the midst of you am mighty. Let it speak to your very cells, to your breath, to the little worries you set down a moment ago. Let it be not comfort only, but law, spiritual certainty that settles the sea. What shall you expect? Not visions, not fireworks, not a warmth that must be measured or a light that must be chased. Expect a release, a loosening at the core. Expect a dissolving of urgency, a sense of being companioned from within. Expect a wordless yes that steadies the next step without a map. This is Christ revealed, not arriving from afar, but announcing itself where you are when personal will grows quiet. This communion between the Father and the Son, between infinite and the individual who yields, is the Holy Ghost, the living movement of grace. Now, as you open your eyes whenever you are ready, do not leave the contact. Bring it. Walk to the next task as one carried. Let the same inner I go before you into the phone call, the meeting, the kitchen. From this contact comes fruit. Ideas arrive with their timing. Supply appears without strain. The body bears witness to wholeness. Relationships find their true level. The word becomes flesh, not by effort, but by presence realized. We do not end in meditation. We begin there. And as we live from this quiet, you will watch how naturally life arranges itself around the law you have touched. God is, and where God is realized, the coming is not waited for. It is lived. What then are the signs of the coming? Not the sky torn with noise, not the calendar circled in red, but the quiet evidence that fear has lost its throne. Peace where panic sat like a tyrant. Clarity where confusion had tangled the threads. A softening of will where hardness used to push. The inner government has shifted. The shoulders come down. The breath becomes honest. You find yourself walking into the same rooms as yesterday, but under a new law, hearing within, I in the midst of you am mighty, and watching as the atmosphere obeys. Let us speak of supply. Not I am prosperous, but the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. Therefore, what is needed appears without anxious outlining. Not I will make it happen, but God is the source, and the infinite invisible selects the channel and the timing. You notice how this works. An idea arrives that renders the problem simple. A customer you did not court calls you. A bill that frightened you dissolves into a new arrangement. You have not hypnotized money. You have recognized the owner, and ownership reveals stewardship in right form. God is. God is abundance as sufficiency, not as piles to stroke and fear to lose, but as the right thing, at the right hour, by the right means, without strain. The word becomes flesh, not because you shouted at the sky, but because you rested in the fact. And health. Here again, not by battling a condition as if it were a power, but by seeing through the white poodle. Fear paints, the nerves agree, and then we start to fight the painting. Stop. Withdraw belief. God is wholeness, the integrity of being appearing as the temple not made with hands. Be still, and let truth announce itself, and you will notice that before any change in sensation, peace stands up within you and says, "Fear not, I am here." That peace is not anesthesia. It is law. It becomes circulation finding its rhythm, functions taking their cue, pain loosening its tail, because the hypnotism is broken and the body bears witness to the I that governs it. Guidance is the Christ activity as surely as healing and supply. It may come as restraint. Do not send that letter, wait. It may come as an impulse. Call now, go by a different street. Carry a kindness into that room. It may come as an open door you could not have engineered, or a closed one you stopped trying to pry. Not I am clever, but God is omniscience functioning as your judgment, your timing, your yes and your no. My doctrine is not mine. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me, He doeth the works. Learn the feel of that inner hand on the reins. It saves you hours and years. And humility must accompany every fruit. We do not take photographs with the apple and forget the tree. Not my technique, not my positive talk, not my human will adjusted to be polite. Grace. God is the doer, the deed, and the evidence. Our part is to consent, to witness, to give thanks, and to keep the channel clear of boasting and fear. Now here is the safeguard. If you would have the fruit remain, do not make communion an ambulance you dial in crisis. Make it the rhythm of your day. Little turnings, frequent yieldings, the practiced reliance upon the infinite invisible before you write, before you decide, before you answer. In that way, the coming stays present, because the personal sense is not climbing back into the driver's seat. In our next step, we will take this further, for the constancy of revelation is found as we die daily to the self that would claim credit or control, and let Christ be seen as the life of our life. Look to me. Look within. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Die daily is not morbid, and it is not heroic. It is practical. It means that each day, many times a day, the little manager that sits behind the eyes, the one that must direct, must defend, must decorate, lays down its tools and becomes still. It means the personal pride that wants to be known as wise, the personal fear that tries to ensure tomorrow by anxiety, the personal outlining that dictates to God the shape and hour of good. These are gently surrendered. Not, I will make this work, but God is the worker and the work. Not, I will secure my life, but God is life secure in itself. Not, I will love nobly, but God is love fulfilling itself where I stand. In that yielding, the coming is not postponed. It is sustained. Contrast the two lives, and you will see the need for this daily passing of the self. In the hypnotized life, the telephone rings and the heart jumps. A headline shouts and the mind begins to sketch disasters. A praise puffs us up, a criticism sets us to arguing. We are tossed like a leaf by appearances and by the movie they project. We pet the white poodle and then rebuke it for shedding. In the awakened life, there is first a pause, then a turning. Look to me, look within, and response rises from the setter. Words are given or silence is given. Steps are ordered or withholding is law. The government has moved from the shoulder of the person to the shoulder of the Christ. My doctrine is not mine. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me, He doeth the works. You feel the difference. Reaction drains. Response draws from an endless well. This is the mystical union spoken of so tenderly. A marriage not of romance, but of oneness. The two that imagine themselves separate, the human sense that says, I am, and the presence that simply is, are not two. The veil of apartness thins, and you find the inner vow keeping you. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Not I live, but Christ liveth in me. Understand it not as poetry, but as identity realized. The wedding is not a ceremony. It is the daily recognition that there is only one life, being itself as you. One mind thinking its way as you. One love loving its world through you. Watch how this transforms relationships. Where once we coaxed and corrected, now we listen. Where once we needed to be understood, now we understand. Where once love was performance with ledger and score, now love is the effortless nature of being. Not, I must fix this person, but God is love present here, and love reveals its own order. Sometimes it speaks softly. Sometimes it is silent. Sometimes it draws a clean boundary without resentment. We do not manipulate outcomes or fish for approval. We behold the Christ in the other, and let the indwelling I arrange the meeting of hearts. Peace replaces pressure because ownership has changed hands. Do not imagine this is accomplished once and stored like a certificate in a drawer. The self that wants the wheel grows back quickly. Therefore, die daily. Little dyings, cheerful dyings. Pause at the doorway. Yield before the answer. Return in the middle of the sentence if need be. Make your contact and keep it fresh. God is. God is. God is. In that rhythm, the second coming continues as the lived center of identity, and life proves it in quiet ways. Hear the voice within you now. Fear not. I in the midst of you am mighty. Look to me. Look within. As this becomes your habit, you will discover an inner fortress not built with hands, and we shall live the day from it. Now let us live the day from the place we have touched. The Psalms spoke of a rock, a fortress, a high tower, a secret place under everlasting wings. Do not seek these on a hillside or in a wall of stone. Hear them as the state of inner reliance that discovers, God is my rock, God is my fortress, God is my shelter. Not as objects to clutch, but as presence to rest in. The rock is this. God is immovable, and I stand within that isness. The fortress is this. I in the midst of you am mighty, and no arrow of fear can pierce what it does not recognize. The shelter is this. Lo, I am with you. And in that companionship, the storm rattles the windows, but cannot enter the house. Now apply it where life knocks. The phone rings with sharp news. Stand still and take one breath in the fortress. God is presence. God is law. God is the governor of outcome. Feel the grip loosen, then answer as one who is not alone. A bill arrives and the heart jabs. Pause and remember. Not I must produce, but the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Father, reveal thy sufficiency. Then take the next simple step you are given. A diagnosis is placed on a counter like a verdict. Do not let hypnotism crown it. Close the eyes a moment and realize, God is life, indivisible and revealing itself here. Let peace precede decisions. An argument flares in the kitchen or the office. Before the tongue speaks, drop into the tower. God is love present. God is wisdom in this room. Wait until the answer is given, or the silence is given. Both can heal. Make this practical by holy littles. Take a 1-minute God is, 3 times in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, 3 at night. Sit or stand where you are and let the litany carry you. God is life here. God is mind here. God is love here. God is my fortress here. Before a meeting, give 30 seconds to silent listening. My doctrine is not mine. The Father within me, He doeth the works. Walk in as one accompanied. Before sending the message, place your hand on the doorknob or the keyboard and whisper within, "Look to me. Look within." Then obey the nudge to speak, to soften, or to wait. These are not performances. They are returns, the sheep finding the shepherd within. Do not aim at a trance. Aim at remembrance. You will forget, and then you will remember. You will be pulled outward, and then you will come home. Make the coming home easy and frequent. The goal is not to float above the ground, but to walk it with a new government upon the shoulder of the Christ. In time, the background hum becomes steady. God is, God is, God is. And interruptions are no longer invasions. They are bells calling you to the sanctuary. The protection you feel is not armor, it is awareness. The guidance you receive is not a fortune teller. It is the quiet authority that orders your steps. So let us set our simple rule of life. Never let a day go by without some period of quiet communion, morning and evening, even 5 minutes each, where you do nothing but realize God is and listen until peace answers. Through the day, give yourself frequent half-minutes of turning, and once a week, choose an hour to be still. No agenda, no requests. Only the consent for the indwelling I to reveal itself. This is how the second coming ceases to be a future drama and becomes a present revelation in communion. In our final step, we shall make the invitation plain. Make your daily contact. Let the coming be today. Fear not, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. I in the midst of you am mighty. Stand still and live from the fortress within. We have come a simple road, though the mind once made it long. We set down the calendar and found a presence. We looked at the white poodle and laughed ourselves awake. We turned from I am spiritual to the quiet certainty that God is. We discovered that the coming is not a spectacle, but an inner revealing. We learned communion not as ritual, but as received contact. We saw its fruit as supply, healing, and guidance. We died daily so Christ might be the life of our life. And we began to live from a fortress within, relying on the infinite invisible rather than the clamor of forms. Now hear the commission, plain and kindly. Never permit a day to go by without some period of quiet, peaceful communion. Morning and evening at least, 5 minutes if that is what you have, where you say nothing, ask nothing, and simply realize God is, and listen until peace answers. Do not look first to person, position, or institution. Do not look first to the bookkeeper or the bank, the doctor or the court, the news or the steel plate, the horoscope or the headline. Do not look first to your bright ideas or your tired fears. Look to me. Look within. Let the infinite, invisible be consulted before the visible is engaged. Not I will fix this, but God is the worker and the work. Not I must secure tomorrow, but God is life secure in itself, revealing its sufficiency today. Not I will be loving, but God is love, fulfilling itself here and now. Make your daily contact. Little pauses through the day. 30 seconds before you answer, before you decide, before you enter a room. My doctrine is not mine. The Father within me, He doeth the works. Let that be your doorway. And as you keep this covenant, expect not catastrophe or spectacle, but the gentle inner appearing. The same Christ revealed anew each time you commune. First as peace, then as right word, as right step, as right provision, as right restraint. The word becomes flesh quietly, like dawn more than lightning. Just seal this in your heart. Listen within. Lo, I am with you unto the end of the world. Fear not. I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. I in the midst of you am mighty. Stand still, and let me be what I am. Let these not be quotations, but living speech, the voice of your own life assuring you of itself. So this is the way. Each day, without fail, quiet, consent, remembrance. Through the day, frequent turnings. And when the mind starts bargaining with appearances, return to the fortress and rest. In this rhythm, the second coming is no longer a hope deferred. It is the present unveiling of Christ in consciousness. Repeatable, trustworthy, sufficient. Make your daily contact. Let the coming be today. God is. God is. God is.